It is day 34 of the shutdown, and federal employees are feeling the hurt of another missed paycheck. Come tomorrow, nearly 800,000 federal workers will go without pay for the second time this year. 7,200 Montanans among those affected. Well, two bills aimed at reopening the government went down in defeat today. Senators voting down a Republican plan to end the shutdown that included $5.7 billion for the border wall. After the measure failed, the chamber blocked a continuing resolution by the Democrats that did not include funding for the wall. CNN reporting tonight that the White House is preparing a draft for a national emergency order, saying it has identified $7 billion for the wall. And among all this, the State of the Union address has now been put on hold. Well, the shutdown, even though it's only partial, is having an effect in a number of ways. We start with Q2's Samantha Sullivan, who's at Billings Logan International Airport, where dozens of workers will miss a second paycheck come tomorrow. Samantha?
Russ, it's a difficult situation that many people around the country are facing, and it's especially impacting our airports. The security officers at TSA are considered essential, so they have to be here working every day, but they're not getting paid. The folks here at the airport says even though there are difficulties, they're getting the job done.
For the most part, we haven't had a lot of call-outs, and I kind of credit that to the Montana culture of, a hard work ethic, that kind of thing, the loyalty to the employer. Which is great. So, they're keeping their chins up, but I don't know how much longer that can last. Eventually, you got to start paying some bills.
The shutdown not just affecting airport employees, but also affecting other areas of airport operation.
I know that some of the airlines, like especially Cape Air, they got new aircraft coming in from Italy to replace their aging fleet of 402s. And they can't accept them until they can be inspected by somebody in the FAA, which isn't on furlough. So, and then of course here locally, we've got the air traffic controllers and the TSA agents, and now they're about to miss their second paycheck. So they've gone a month without pay. And as you can imagine, that's got to be a little tough on some of those folks.
Plone says despite the struggles for the employees and the airport right now, the bright spot has been the support from the community.
The restaurant here has provided them with some free lunches. Some of the airlines have chipped in, got them pizzas. I think one of the local sandwich shops downtown came up and provided them with some free sandwiches. So, I mean, there's just a lot of that kind of going on. But, it's a nice thing. But, in the end, they still need that paycheck. And, well, it's just got to be challenging for them right now.
Plone says the longer this shutdown goes on, the more difficult those impacts could be. He says federal funding is a large part of construction projects, and this could end up affecting their construction project for new terminals, which is set to start in September. For now, that's all I've got at the airport. Now we'll send it to Rob Griggs, who's standing by with how this is impacting the National Weather Service.
Well, the partial government shutdown obviously hasn't shut down the wintry weather we're experiencing, but it certainly is getting in the way of the people who forecast it. First of all, low morale is a problem. Employees of the National Weather Service are considered critical, and they're still showing up for their daily responsibilities and essential functions of forecasting, but they haven't seen a paycheck in over a month. Another problem, research suffers. Weather Service computer models and equipment require updates and maintenance, and they haven't been able to do that for over a month. And then training has also taken a hit. You consider staff training, also local storm spotters workshops, weather, radio programming. All of this is suffering from the government shutdown. Now, obviously, all of these problems won't just end the moment the government shutdown ends, but I think as a weather forecaster, we'll all breathe a sigh of relief once the National Weather Service is back to full strength. Q2's David J. has been speaking with a furloughed government employee. David?
Thanks, Rob. We're down here at the Department of Interior and the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and we're hearing from a man who is a federal worker who's been told not to go back to work during this government shutdown. He says the problems are becoming more and more serious for some of the employees to pay their bills, and he's not liking feeling like a pawn in a political game. Jim Ridgway is an appraiser here at the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and he says at this time he's not sure when he's going to be able to go back to work. Hundreds of federal workers are in the same situation as Ridgway. He says some are being told to go to work without pay, and many aren't even allowed to volunteer to work during this federal shutdown. Ridgway says he doesn't know if he will be able to pay his mortgage or tuition for his daughter's college education, and he says his biggest concern is whether Congress is willing to work together to get federal workers like him back to work and paid.
Everybody that's involved in the process is suffering to some extent, and it's all financial related. And we'll go back to work when we're called, and we'll never make up for the time that we've lost, so we'll just have to pick up where we left off.
Ridgway says he does have some savings, but that's not going to last too long. He also says some of the workers are being forced to take some minimum wage jobs, and some of those even have some children, and one is a woman who's battling breast cancer. That's the latest from out here. We'll send it back to Russ in the studio.
Well, thanks, David. We're now heading to the eye of the shutdown storm, Capitol Hill, where we find CBS's Nikole Killion covering the stalemate. And Nikole, 2 more votes failing today, but to many they seem dead on arrival. What's next on the legislative front?
Yeah, that's right, Russ. Well, keep in mind these votes were mostly symbolic, and so now once again we're starting to see some signs of movement and potential negotiations. At this point, we know that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer met late this afternoon to discuss a possible way forward here. But at this point, lawmakers are looking at any and everything to try to break this impasse.
And Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi saying she's willing to meet with the president to try and ease some of the tension after the contentious meeting prior to the shutdown. Do you think that might happen, and could it possibly change things?
Well, I wouldn't hold my breath on that, and even Speaker Pelosi acknowledged that nothing is in the pipelines as of yet. Similarly, from the White House, we haven't heard that anything has been scheduled. But again, certainly we see this meeting this evening between Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Minority Leader Chuck Schumer as a possible breakthrough. Even Chuck Schumer acknowledged late today that, hey, we're talking. So from that standpoint, that does show that, lawmakers are at least trying to exchange some ideas. There is a bipartisan group of senators that has proposed temporarily reopening the government for the next 3 weeks to allow them some more time to negotiate.
And the president also throwing some bargaining chips on the table, including a prorated down payment for the wall. At the end of the day, what do you think it's going to take to finally reopen the government?
Well, obviously, it's going to take a give and take, as it does in any compromise, right? And we just need to see more than, wall funding or no fall funding, which has pretty much been the battle that we've seen play out here over the last month. And again, I think that's why you're seeing this bipartisan group of senators coming forward saying, hey, let's at least reopen the government for a few weeks and try to hash some more ideas out. The president did say that he's willing to see what kind of comes out of these discussions this evening between McConnell and Schumer, but he's still pretty insistent that he wants some type of money for a border wall, which is where this idea of a prorated down payment is kind of coming from, that, hey, if we're going to negotiate, let's at least put a little something down on what the president wants as well. Russ?
All right, CBS's Nikole Killion live from Capitol Hill tonight. Thank you.